Okay.
So folks, welcome back to the third part of this little interview. I'm Tony Higginson. I'm doing some work for UClan Publishing from Preston, and if you put my name, Tony Higginson, or Beyond Books into your search engine, you can find me. If you put Joseph Delaney in, you can find Joseph, and he's got a wonderful Instagram and Facebook, which you can interact with. You've recently started an absolutely brand new series, Joe. Have you got a copy of the brand new book there?
There it is, Brother Wolf.
Brother Wolf. Now, the cover, to me, looks a little bit more like, I'm going to say the easy word, like a Harry Potter type.
It's been
cover.
redesigned. We've gone for different sort of illustrator, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a different look to it, yeah.
Yeah. Do you? What's your view? Do you like the new cover treatment?
I trust the publisher to get it right.
Well, they do know what they're doing.
I hope so. I prefer, personally, the old Grimalkin type covers, you know.
Yeah.
But they think that it has its own appeal to readers, so I trust them.
Yeah. So, obviously, a brand new series by someone like you is really exciting for all the fans. It's been a little while in coming, really, because when was the last time you wrote about the Spooks Apprentice world?
Oh, it's got to be 5 years, because, I mean, I've done Arena 13, one book a year, and then it's at least 5 years, yeah.
So, were you equally excited as the readers are going to be back in the county?
I was, yeah, because it was good, because Tom Ward and Alice feature, they're not the main characters, but they have a really big part to play. And I've got the locations all there already, so it couldn't be better. So I was introducing a new character into an existing world.
So the first thing we find from what you've just said then is that time has moved on in the Spooks
Maybe about
world.
3 years from the last Spooks world.
So Tom and Alice are much older, they're grown up now in effect, aren't they?
Yeah.
And you've let slip that they are part of the new book. So
they are a big part of it, yeah, but not the main characters.
Yeah, so when you were thinking of a new main character, I think it's safe to say there's two, in a way.
Yes.
There's a spook, who you've called Spook Johnson.
That's correct.
And could you give us a little bit of a background about
Spook
how
Johnson
he came about?
really it came out of, it's based on, I won't say it's based on my son Stephen, it's based on my son Stephen's persona. Because he used to do a thing called Spooks Teaching, where he went into schools, pretended to be a spook, and was quite a bully really, and quite aggressive, and he did various things and told, and there were games and instructions and reading from the book. So I like the character, and to a certain extent, Spook Johnson is based upon Stephen. And Spook Johnson is not a totally nice spook either. He's a bit of a misogynist, you know. He hates witches. They are his target, but not all the witches that he imprisons are witches.
I was just going to touch on that. He's got a bit of a speciality, hasn't he?
He is a specialist. He calls himself a witch specialist.
Yeah. So we've got this wonderful, larger-than-life spook, really.
He is. He's definitely a character.
And you've set it in a different part of the county.
It's set in Salford, yeah. So it's to the south. Basically, what happens that the narrator is a boy who is being trained as a monk. And I won't go into too much detail, but he ends up not as an apprentice to Spook Johnson, but as a sort of a servant who's also writing a book about Spook Johnson. Because Spook Johnson does not have good relations with his neighbours, because he imprisons the daughters and the mothers and so he wants to set the world straight and to show what he really is. So this boy is supposed to actually write up the book which will change his reputation. Something goes badly wrong. Spook Johnson overstretches himself. He's outmatched by a witch, and Tom needs to go north for help. And there's only one place he can go, so he goes to Chippenden to seek the help of Tom Ward.
So that's how Tom and Alice maybe come into the story.
Book, yeah.
Now, here's the thing: you've got a young boy who's training to be a monk.
Yes.
This doesn't sound immediately as exciting as I'm sure it is in the book. I mean, I can only think of a couple of books with monks in. There was Name of the Rose.
Read that, yes.
Which was, made into a film with Sean Connery.
It was a good film.
And there was, do you remember Brother Cadfael?
I used to watch that on telly, yeah, I watched that as well.
But they were quite light in a way, weren't they?
This is quite heavy.
This is quite dark and scary, if it's anything like any of your other books. So, when you were putting this character in your head to become real, was there a reason you chose a young monk? Anything?
I have no idea. So you've got to remember the history of the spooks. Don't forget that John Gregory was once a trainee priest.
Oh, of course.
There's all that background to it as well, really. Surprising. I think it was for this. I thought his name now. So in the Spooks Battling was also a priest. So I just thought it would be a good idea to have a boy who is also being plagued by a demon, and he's not finding light. It was his mother's idea for him to become a monk. He didn't particularly choose to become a monk, and he's not totally happy. So that starts it off. Yeah.
And I'm right in thinking that the Quisitors make an appearance.
Oh yeah, they're very important in the books. Yeah, because the Quisitors are out looking for not only for witches, but for the people, the spooks who hunt witches. So that's part of it as well.
So there's a little bit more peril for the characters from more than one side in this.
And of course, imagine if a boy, a novitiate, a boy training monk, goes to work with a spook with the permission of the abbot temporarily, and then he overstretches himself. He then becomes the target of the Quisitor, and it will be tied in. It's worse for someone who's been a monk to get into that position.
And the other thing in this book I found, having read the first one, is the action is almost there from page one.
Yeah.
There's very little get to know people. Things happen straight off.
Yeah.
Do you think over the last 15 years or so, as you've developed as a writer, things like films, TV, computer games, have they shaped you in any way?
Maybe they always did to a certain extent. Obviously, been shaped by the books I've read and been influenced by books I've read. But I taught media and film studies, and I watch films like Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. How many times I watched that film over and over again and analysed it to bits. So all that you've got to be learning from stuff like that. It's got to you are being taught how to make a story by film and by books as well. And
now, talking of film, we must mention that Spooks Apprentice was taken up as a film called Seventh Son.
Seventh Son, yeah.
And am I right in thinking this led to you going over to Canada and being there for part of the filming process?
Yeah, I watched them film and I met Jeff Bridges, I had my photograph taken with him. But the sad thing for me was that though they're very polite and kind and they made me feel welcome, I did not have much input on the film. I mean, I signed the contract too early, I think when the Spooks Apprentice first came out. And as a result, they went their own sweet way and did what they wanted. And of course, a film is full of sound bites. Where you might have a big conversation between the spook and Tom, you get one sentence, which is not good. That's why a TV series is better.
Well, I was just
about to lead into the
I was just about to ask that question because I mean I remember watching series like Merlin with my kids, and that ran quite some time really.
Yeah.
And would you prefer the Spook series to go that way?
Oh yeah, because then we could get the dialogue back in. We could run it to like a series of 6 just for one book maybe. There's lots to explore really. And people have been interested. We had a ex-BBC producer who wanted, but unfortunately the bad news for me is that the film people still have the rights, so I think it runs out about now.
Oh well, that might be something your agent needs.
Yeah, we're pushing that at the moment. We're trying to get them to find out when it runs out so we can, offer it to a TV company maybe. That's what I'd like to do, yeah.
So Tom and Alice have obviously aged roughly 3 years, maybe a tiny bit more really. How hard was that to give them an age?
I don't know, it's strange, but I think Alice doesn't come across as being that much older. She's still very much Alice. But Tom's he's got a bit of humour now. He didn't seem to be he spent off his time being terrified. But now, as he journeys back, if you will, from Chippenden, back to try and see if they can help, Spook Johnson, he's making little jokes and being, play. He's a different character. He's still essentially Tom, but he's broadened himself in some ways in terms of personality.
And obviously, now that you're into this new world of the spook, how many Blood Wolf books might you do? Have you got any idea of it?
Well, the next one it's just gone. It's about to be proofread, so it'll be out next May the 4th, approximately. And I think there'll be at least one more, but there could be 5. It depends on various things, like what my publisher wants to do. That's the other thing.
And as you've now moved forward through time with the world of the spook, are you tempted ever to go back before Spooks Apprentice?
Yeah, there are several books. I mean, one thing that could be written would be John Gregory. He already features in a short story. Well, I think it was the World Book Day one, wasn't it?
And was in that The Witches, the short story collection you put together?
It was, yeah. But basically, we could do that, yeah. And also, this Mam. What sort of a life did Mam lead? She's like well, we won't say what she is for people who don't know, but she's been around a long, long time, and she's not human. She becomes more human when she becomes man, and then she no longer becomes human. So she's like pre-human, human, then becomes something else. She's a great story to tell. I'd like to do that one.
So, it sounds to me like you know you're going to be writing for a long, long time, basically. And I think, is that not the nice thing as a writer? Certainly touching on the fact that we've got this pandemic at the moment. For some writers, they have found it hard to write, and yet for others, maybe you can tell us which side of the coin you're on. They're doing what they've always done. You sat at your desk.
Oh yeah.
You get up in the morning and write. Are you a morning writer?
I'm a morning writer. I mean, I spent the last 15 years in isolation. You could argue, really, only in the sense that I'm used to working alone. I write alone. I don't need to talk to people. I do talk to people. I do go out, but I don't feel it as much maybe as some people, because I don't go to an office or a job. I'm no longer having to go and teach children as I used to do. That would have been a joke if that had suddenly stopped. Because I've got into a new pattern of life where I'm writing alone, and then I'm going for a walk maybe going out at night occasionally. So it's not bothered me that much, to be quite honest. Yeah.
And the other thing is, I think technology has now proved that you can connect with people from a distance. Yeah. So this event on Tuesday 27th of October is going to be on Zoom and Facebook Live, almost certainly on YouTube. So if schools and libraries are out there and they are interested in authors like yourself, maybe they do a little bit of a read the first few chapters or even the first book, authors now can basically do a virtual visit to any school.
It's true. I mean, I've already talked to New York. Where else was I've done one in England. I don't know others we're probably going to do in the future.
Well, Egypt maybe.
Yeah, Egypt's on the list, yeah. I could do New Zealand, Australia. I mean, so yeah, it's opened up a different sort of a world as well.
So obviously teachers and librarians out there, if you are interested in getting an author to your school without the worry of transport and things like that, get in touch with either a bookseller like myself or the publisher, or if you can track the author down on Facebook or Twitter, most of them are on one or other, politely say hello and say who you are, where you are. And, I'm sure, within reason, most authors can free up an hour in the morning, hour in the afternoon once a week.
It's much easier than, as you say, going out early in the morning in by car and lugging all the books and everything. This is quite easy to do. It's quite flexible. And
also, you have like a little chat room for questions on Zoom, don't you, on the side, so people can feed questions in. And 5 minutes you can type answers in, and answer lots of questions in one go, can't you? Really,
that's true.
So I think your Zoom, you've been playing with Zoom. You've got some cool backgrounds for when you do.
Yeah,
Zoom.
I'm working on it now. I mean, I'm working on different backgrounds. The virtual background on my old computer didn't work, but I've got a newer computer now. And it works now, so I can put my own images up. So I can almost do a PowerPoint presentation by turning to one side and indicating the screen. I can have it all scrolling by. I can time how long each screen is on, so I can see lots of possibilities.
So we're going to pretty much come to an end now. So folks, hopefully you'll enjoy watching this short interview that we've done with Joseph today. He's now going to hold up 2 books.
Oh, yes, here we go.
So he's got his own new book, Brother Wolf and The Witching Stone by Danny Weston. And we're going to be on Zoom, Facebook Live on Tuesday 27th of October, 7 o'clock in the evening. The event itself is free, but we would love you to buy preferably both books. So if you go on to beyond-books.co.uk, just type in either author's name, you'll quickly get to the relevant page, and if you buy both books you get them for £10, which I think is good value. 2 books for £10. You can't just buy one, but I think as you're going to meet both authors, I think it's the least people can do, really, isn't it? So folks, hopefully you've enjoyed yourselves. A big thank you to Joseph for giving up his time to do this interview here. And hopefully we'll do something like this again in the future, in May, maybe when the new book comes out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well.